Hi, everybody. I'm very excited. Deb Yager here, and this is the Expert Series, Expert Entrepreneurs Living Their Soul's Purpose. And I am so excited to have this beautiful, beautiful friend of mine, Laura Bautista. And we're going to talk about suffering plus joy are determined by your agreements. Ooh, I totally believe in that. And Laura is a holistic health practitioner and a wellness coach, and she's the founder of Root Your Radiance. And I'm so excited to have her on. She is super, super smart lady. She is passionate and she gets the shit done.
Thank you for that introduction. I'm so excited to be here and to be talking to you. We have so many parallels in how we help people. And there's so much unnecessary suffering in this world. And it's really, and I'll get into this definitely way more in depth, but I do strongly believe that our agreements are what determine what shows up in our lives. So whether you're suffering for for a long amount of time, extended period of time, or whether you are just blissfully in your joy, it really does start with how you show up in your agreements. Like, what are you subscribing to in this life and in your consciousness? So that's kind of what I want to talk about today.
Absolutely. And our agreements, when we're not doing them, they drain our freaking energy.
That's right.
Which you probably connected to, people and creating dis-ease in their life because of all of the leaking energy places of all the agreements that we're not keeping with ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's why people get really uncomfortable. Like, for example, when they're, in your case, right, you help business professionals, monetize their dreams. And so I know that for me, that was such a big deal. It impacted my physical body health. It impacted my relationships. It impacted my soul's calling, where I knew I'm working at a desk job where I know I'm here to really help people. And so for work, I was like, it's cool because you have these no more moments and then you have a choice, and you have the choice to pivot or you have the choice to stay in that limiting agreement. And it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy to disagree with your limitations, but once you start rolling the dice and you keep it going and you start to trust yourself, and then you're like, okay, now I know what boundaries I can push. So I get very excited about this topic because I think it applies multidimensionally. And that's also how I help people heal, is multidimensionally. It's your physical body, it's your relationships, it's your energy body, it's your work balance. Like, it's all of the things. And it definitely starts with agreements.
Wow. When you were talking about being in the corporate job and just literally viscerally feeling like no more, that's a conversation that I have with so many people. And I would like to hear a little bit more about that, like how you made that transition and what it was for you, and how did you get up the courage? And then what were the steps that you took in order to be successful? Because I think that's really powerful. A lot of people are stuck in jobs. Not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur. No. And there's a lot of people that are working for someone else that they know inside it is not congruent.
Right. Yeah. And it's like an energy bleed. Like, it's and you can feel it, and it shows up in all of these different areas of your life. And so for me, it actually all started with my health and healing journey, which is why I do what I do today. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when I was like 21 years old. I was a normal kid, in college, partying, very popular, like a lot of friends, normal life. And then I get this ton of bricks dropped on me that is like, okay, Laura, now you have multiple sclerosis and you may end up in a wheelchair. You could potentially go blind, and you may lose control of your bowels, and you might lose sensation in your lady parts. Like, you might not enjoy that anymore. Yeah, this is what I was told. And I was also not given any time to grieve that news, because as soon as the news was delivered, I started crying. And I mean, how could you not, right? You're just like, your whole world flips upside down. You're so confused. And I started crying. And then the doctor in the room, and I honor him now for wanting me to bypass that pain. But essentially what he did was like, you need to stop crying. You need to start asking questions. Your life is completely different now. And that really started this whole whirlwind of, autoimmune disease in the Western medicine model, where drugs are thrown at you over and over and over. They're layered, they're stacked with good intentions for the most part. This is not a doctor issue. This is not a people issue. This is a systemic disruption that is keeping people ill. And so I did the daily injections. I did all of the diagnostic testing. I had 3 spinal taps, and all the stuff that came with that. I had hospitalized regularly. Everybody in my world at that time knew I was sick, and so that became something that it's funny because I never really totally agreed with it. I never really totally did. And I think that so served me in the end. But at the time, it felt really weird. It was just kind of like very conflicting. And so I was a very good patient. My dad's a medical doctor. I come from a medical family. I had baller insurance, full access to any physician that I could see in the New York metropolitan area. That's where I'm from. And I was looked at as like such a question mark by all of these physicians. They were just like, because then I got diagnosed with chronic hives like a couple of years later, and I had all this anxiety and body pain and like all this, my body was just screaming to unleash and shift. And so when the medications were no longer serving me, which this was a long journey, like I tried this for like 7 years, and it was no longer serving me. I was not moving the needle. Intuitively, I had that feeling like that it was no longer just a knock, it was like a slam, and same thing happened in entrepreneurship or in finding my life's purpose, where it was like, it's very loud, whether it's symptomatic expression, whether it wakes you up in the middle of the night because you're so stressed about what you have to do the next day, whether it's, not having any joy when you wake up and you're about to go to work and fulfill your day, like it's loud, right? And so that's what happened to me. I had this like it also came with a no more moment. So I'm glad that kind of, came up to start with like that. I walked into a doctor's office, and this was like, years into all of this nonsense. And the doctor at that time had said, okay, so now we have I know you've been taking these injectable medications for years. I know you hate them. There's a pill coming out, and it's been in clinical trials and blah, blah, blah. Now, the only side effect to these pills is that it could slow down your heart rate. And then we're going to have to add all these EKGs and all of these other cardiac things. And I looked at my dad, he was with me in the office, and I was just like, are you serious? Like, this is what you have to offer me? But that strength to like push back, it came after years of agreeing to what I was being told. Nobody ever talked to me about food. Literally nobody. I asked one day, and they were like, everything moderation is fine. Very dangerous advice to give somebody with an autoimmune disease, but it's just not taught. Nutrition, I think medical schools get like 1 semester of nutrition or something.
Yeah.
So once that moment was really it was a combination of intuition, of knowing that I was putting in all of the efforts that I was told to do. Like I was actually pretty compliant until I wasn't, and just this deep desire to heal fully and finally. And so that's when I started to just look more into nutrition. And, I got into Institute for Integrative Nutrition that year. I became a health coach. I started to heal my own body using food as medicine, learning about gut health, toxicity, empowering myself through knowledge and application on the day-to-day, which was also something I was not used to. And this applies to facing any fear, I think. It's like, so I partnered with IIN, right? Like I basically hired them to teach me how my body works. So that was number one. Then I also aligned with higher consciousness. I really tapped into my spirituality and who I really am below this bag of bones, which I think if you think about it that way, like we all know we're not just a freaking bag of bones. And there's something else, that driving force. So connecting with that through meditation, and then once I started to get results, even if they were little, I was like, okay, compass, I'm leaning more into this. It felt really scary, but it was that feel the fear and do it anyway mentality that was also taught at IIN. So I've gone on to do lots and lots of trainings and, so many things since then, but that feel the fear and do it anyway was like the best thing that I ever heard. And even in your trainings, like when I went to your business training, and it was so amazing. And breakthroughs, even in just the weekend trainings. I mean, so that's really high level. So just to acknowledge you for that, but it is also like, it's not about high vibe only. It's not about suppressing your fears. It's about honoring them And then also working through them. Like that's what you guys really help people do in business and in life. I mean, and me too. There's a million different ways to do the same thing. So ultimately where I am now, yes, I'm fully aligned to my purpose. Everything is perfect. I'm so glad I suffered for all of those years, even though it didn't feel good at the time. That was me stretching. And so that now I can blossom, and I went from $18 an hour to passing six figures in 1 year revenue in my business. And it's all because of my conviction to my higher purpose and my agreement to that higher purpose versus my agreement to the fear. So that's kind of where that whole agreement thing ties in.
Man, oh man, you just made me have the chills like 1,000 times. Because I mean, it literally is everyone that I've ever talked to that is doing their life's work. There's some huge knock on the door. A lot of times people don't listen, and then you get slammed down. And then this doesn't happen for everybody. Sometimes people listen. Just, my own personal experience, I was much more hard-headed. And then when you're at that metaphorical rock bottom, it comes back in this gentle voice of, I believe it's the higher self of the soul's consciousness that says, hey, we got this, we can do this. And it's really moving through that transition. Like last year and the year before, I decided, because my purpose was so big, because I wanted to help women and men overcome whatever it is that's plaguing them, to actualize their higher purpose and to monetize what they're doing and live the highest and best life. I'm like, the fear fucking doesn't matter. I need to get out of my own way. And if I feel fear, then I know that I'm on for a spiritual breakthrough, and lean in. And so the mantra was, do it anyways. If I fear it, good. That means I'm growing. Do it anyways. Right. And yes, I agree with what you're saying. Like, the high vibe, it's good to align yourself and not make it any harder than it really is to take these actions and get out our own way. At the same time, when you're doing something you've never done before, it scares the shit out of you. Yeah. It's all good.
There's grace for that, right?
Yeah. Woo, girl.
I know but it is like, it's so scary. And so that's been coming up a lot. So this year has been a lot, and I'm sure you've done this in your business and maybe you've gotten this feedback as well. This year has been a lot of research. Like, I really want to know, like, the people that are struggling, the people that I can help the most, what do they really want and need? And when I tap into that, and where are they struggling, and like, what's the big thing? It's so much always around fear and the mistrust of being able to transmute that fear into something really beautiful. And that trust is built, confidence is built, it's not something that is just inherently already there. And that confidence applies, and that trust applies to from your morning routine, what you're putting in your mouth, what you're eating, how much water you're drinking, to, how you structure your day in business. Like it all matters, and it all is going to set you up. And the little things are what build that trust, what build that confidence. Because as you start to trust yourself, you also trust yourself to align with the things that are in your highest and best good, even when they don't feel good. Mm-hmm. And that's like that's how I say, like, everything is perfect with, I didn't feel good for a very long time. There were times where my left side of my body was like this, like it felt like my right side was carrying my left. I couldn't shower alone, but all of that pain didn't feel good. However, was perfectly aligned with my process and with my outcome now. And, just to say, for anyone who doesn't know me or who hasn't heard my story, I mean, I have not had symptoms of multiple sclerosis, chronic symptoms in general, or Western intervention, no drugs, none of that, for almost 6 years. So this is possible for anyone. And where it really started for me was in that shift in my agreement with what I'm believing. I remember when I believed that $20 an hour was going to be fine for me. And there's nothing wrong with making $20 an hour. Like, it's not about that. It's just, for me, that amount of money was a reflection of the work that I was doing that was not in my highest purpose. So it never would have fulfilled me. It's not about the money, but the money is a reflection sometimes of how aligned things are. And so, same thing with, when I was first diagnosed, I really was like, ending up in a wheelchair, like, holy shit, that's terrifying. I don't want that. I'm not going to just lay down and wait for that. You know, and so sometimes it's inherent, because we ask like, okay, how did you get there? What were some of the steps? Sometimes it's inherent. Sometimes it's a matter like meaning that drive, that self-worth, that is something that was very much instilled in me. I learned that growing up. My mother always taught me, you know, my value, and it really stuck. And it definitely, you know, to this day, supports me. And then I had a father who was into functional medicine. So I had support, and resources. So that's another thing, support and resources. And then from there, I started making the choices that were aligned. So that's really kind of how that all came to play. And you can really see how this story, even when you think of anybody who's had success in different areas, like the formula is pretty similar. You know, it's like your no more moment, your decision to do something different with your life, with your health, radically different, resources and learning, because we need resources and learning and systems.
Training and all the things. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then the higher consciousness work. So
which is the action piece, bringing it down into the physical plane. And like
yes.
you said, building confidence. I mean, I love that you said that, because for me, confidence was something that I didn't have, and self-worth. That was something that I grew and developed as a seedling. I took care of her. And every time that I would take action and succeed or fail, she would get stronger and stronger. I think that's important for every single person to know. I mean, like my husband, he's one of those people that's naturally confident. In fact, I used to compare myself to him and be like, why can't I be like that? And I was doing that feedback loop that wasn't healthy, of course. And then I realized, you know, it's not that way for everyone. So everybody has a different journey, and we all can eventually create it within ourselves. And once we do, then everything falls into place. You know, the health aspect is such a holistic approach. And that's one of the reasons why, like, I was super excited to bring you on, is because after getting to know you as a soul sister and, you know, having you come through training, we're talking about Dr. Hama's work. And you're probably the first person that just off of, you know, anybody that I come in contact with, they're like, no, I've never heard of this guy. And like, he's groundbreaking stuff. Like, it transformed the way that you look at dis-ease, at least for me. Like, everything that we have that is being diagnosed as something bad is actually our biological process of our innate intelligence of our body to heal.
Yes.
It's crazy.
So revolutionary. It's so translates, right? Because it's like, it translates to symptomatic expression or pain in business. It translates to pain in anything. It's really like, it's part of the circuit. It's pain and pleasure is a circuit, you know? And so, you know, like you said, if you're scared, lean into it. You're on the right path. If you're freaking struggling and you're in pain, but you're moving toward your highest excitement and your purpose, you're on the right track, even if it's part of it. And so with Hamer's work, yeah, I mean, he talks a lot about shock and trauma and how that will lock things into place. So from the place that I've studied it is, you know, the study of human toxicity and human toxicology and the expression of disease and symptoms and how there are phases of it. And it's all a natural process in the body. You know, there are other medical models that look at symptomatic expression as part of the healing. We look at it here as something to fear. And that's what I always did. I'm like, I'm broken. Like, we're broken, right? Yeah. And so moving away from that brokenness model, embracing it all. How do I love this anyway? That's something one of my teachers taught me. Like, no matter what's going on in my life, how do I love this anyway? That's like the practice of gratitude, because it realigns you to the vibration of possibility, the vibration of prosperity and excitement. And so, yeah, that also totally applies. And I was blown away that you guys were talking about Rycomer, you know, in that training, because I also had not heard of anyone besides my medical professionals in my group, like, right, that had talked about that, or healthcare professionals, I should say. So yeah.
We talk about it from the emotional, the spiritual. Well, Dr. Hummer actually took a training with his protege, Elsadora. She doesn't believe that you can create disease from, and I don't know if Hummer believes, but assuming. They don't look at past lives. They don't look at genealogical epigenetics. They don't look at stuff in this womb. Even that's a gray area, because I was asking her all these questions and she kept shooting me down. But we look at it from a holistic, like a spiritual, mental, emotional, and then a physical plane approach.
Yes.
Of where was there some sort of conflict in the life? And then, of course, like, what nutrition are they putting in their body? What's going on environmentally? What are the people in their life? And so it's like all of these things that you can put together in a puzzle of a lens to look through at the symptomology, to where then you can say, okay, great. If it's a mental thing, then we can use NLP. If it's emotional, then we can go back on the timeline and get to the root cause. Maybe it was a past life that they created unconsciously, the dis-ease to make this life more interesting. Who knows? I've seen some crazy things. And I think it's fascinating. I haven't dove into the toxic. I mean, I know the toxicity and like having heavy metals and the air that we're breathing and the water we're drinking is one of those huge components. And usually when it comes to that, then we outsource it to an expert like yourself. Though it's just incredible to have somebody else talking about those things. And I truly believe, like you said, when it comes to leaning in and finding the gratitude, that's what gets us through. And if we are walking in alignment with our soul's purpose, I believe usually if you have all the other shit in place, if you're looking at your body as a holistic approach, then your body has the physical ability to go through it.
Yes, totally agreed. And, you know, the model too is like emotional toxins as well. So it looks at the physical body, but it's also like, and that's Chinese medicine. I mean, lots of ancient models. And so it's ancient wisdom and new science. And I love integrating all of it. There's even Western medicine has its place, you know, I'm not shitting on that either. But it's really cool when you get to integrate, what is the trauma? What are the blocks? You know, how are they manifesting in physical form in your circumstances, you know, because this brings us to like energy medicine and the law of attraction and all of these other things. I mean, it's such a multi-dimensional view that you can't possibly just address the physical body without looking at the emotional body, without talking about, you know, I think without talking about lineage and family patterns and DNA. Now, that being said, you are not a victim to any of it. Like, you are not a victim to any of that stuff. You can actually take control. And that's why I love epigenetics and I love homotoxicology, because they're very solution-based. NLP, same thing, very solution-based, to get people to move out of stuckness and into flow, which is our divine right, you know? So yeah,
which
I mean, I could talk about
it comes into what you were saying is I always say finding the gift within the garbage. Like every challenging situation is our greatest gift. And there's such an amazing, if you choose to look for it, and it's agreement with yourself of finding that magic in everything that you're going through. And that frees up the energy for you to truly have health in your body, as well as even putting fuel back into your higher purpose.
Absolutely. I love that you said frees up energy, because that applies in so many different ways. You know, when you start to clear the noise, it clears up energy, and it creates more space for you to call in the things that are in your highest and best good. And that's where people stay in their bliss, you know, even when it doesn't feel good. Right. So, yeah.
Well, it's all perception.
Definitely.
Even if there's chaos going on in your life, at the end of the day, we all have the ability to choose to perceive it in a certain way.
Yes.
And if you choose to get in alignment and to be grateful and find the joy and the peace, you can literally get through anything.
For some reason, I feel called to, you know, address people who may not buy that, like people who are like, I don't have a choice. That's not a choice. You know, I want to acknowledge that. And I want to also say that agreeing with it being a choice comes with feeling the fear and doing it anyway. So I think that's kind of, because I also used to be like, oh, these people with their freaking, motivational talk, and, you know, but I don't have a choice. I didn't choose this, you know, and there's a spiritual underlying layer, and a tool that I would love to put out there for people who want to really explore this whole agreements thing. It's something that I focus on in my programs, in my practice, is Paul Selig's work. I don't know if you're familiar with Paul Selig, but you would love his stuff. He's a channel. But beyond that, he's also like a Harvard professor or an NYU and a PhD. And so he's got this really cool integration. And he talks a lot about our agreement with consciousness and our agreement with lack and scarcity consciousness. And that's like, versus, prosperity in all ways and possibility. So it's about aligning to the level of consciousness at which you want to vibrate at. Like, you get to choose where you want to stay. And a lot of the times it requires bypassing fear to shift out of that. So just to highlight that, I don't know why I felt called to say that, but I just wanted to put that out there that, we all move at the pace that we move, and there's nothing wrong. Everything is perfect. And like Deb said, there's gifts in the garbage. One of my coaches has said, like, your mess becomes your message. And that's another thing that very much happens in entrepreneurship. That happened with me, that's happening with you. And whether or not you're an entrepreneur, everything that's happening in your life is for a reason, and there is a higher purpose attached to it. And you can choose to see it that way, or you can choose to focus on the circumstance. And you actually end up moving through the circumstance much faster when you choose the perception, right? You choose how long you're going to suffer. And then you choose what lens you're going to actually look through. So really powerful stuff there. Yeah,
absolutely. And, you can't prove that everybody attracts everything in their life. And if you play the game that way, you will grow and evolve very, very quickly. And you'll see that there actually are patterns. I mean, in my own personal experience, I believe, you attract the good and the bad. And the bad is not necessarily bad, because paradoxically, it allows you to grow and it becomes awake. And so grumpy things that are in your life are stuff that is unconscious. And then happy things in your life are the stuff that is conscious. And so it just... if you choose, like a lot of people, and in my own past, I actually got a lot out of being a victim, and I created more because of the vibration that I was at. I created stuff to victimize me.
Yeah, me too.
A lot, and people that have been, hurt or harmed or put in a situation that was out of their control. It may seem that way. And I may get a lot of people that disagree with me, but I believe that they unconsciously attracted it, some reason in their life for them to grow and evolve as a human being.
That's exactly
once they flip, it's like the logotherapy that Viktor Frankl talks about. He talks about, he was a Holocaust victim. And he talks about people that survived the Holocaust, and the people that actually found meaning from the event. They transformed their lives. They went out and did amazing things. They empowered people. They lived longer lives. They were happier. They felt good. They did all the things. And the people that stayed victim to it, the only people that are, think about it, you could hold on to the aggression towards the people that victimize you. The only people that suffer is yourself.
Right. Right. Yeah. That would be like me, being mad at MS, right? Like, it's like, I'm mad at this thing, but as I focus on how mad I am at this thing, it's like, I'm just digging the knife deeper into my own, you know what I mean? And that's like, and so, yeah, I think that, again, that agreement to, am I going to be on this victim, violator, rescuer triangle for the rest of my life? Because if you are one, you're actually all three. As you're a victim, or you're playing a role in all three, because as you take on this victim consciousness, you are then casting a violator, you're labeling something or someone as a violator, and then you're also kind of saying that you need to be rescued. And so it's this perpetual loop of that, as opposed to, and that's codependence, right? That's like looking outside of you to get full, looking outside of you to blame, to cast, that's codependence, needing that external thing to make you feel full, whatever it is, versus if you align to interdependence, where you take full self-responsibility and you atone for your part. And that's all you can really do. You can't change anybody else. You can't change, there's really it's not worth trying. At least you can't change it in the way that you think. Because the transformation, it starts within. And when you align to truth, like what's really true, and what is true is always true. So that's something like, how do we define truth? And that's a whole nother thing. But you align to truth, and love and radical self-responsibility. And from there, you really start to regain control of your life and all of your circumstances, even the ones that you're not really having fun with. But acknowledging that and then taking inspired action, and again, leaning into that fear, because it's going to come up. If you're doing big things, you're going to feel fearful. And if you don't, you're lying to yourself or something's off, right? Because it's part of the growth. It's part of the experience. And, you know, it's there. Like it's shifting the way we look at things, shifting the lens. And there are lots of tools, resources, and people to help you do that, if that's not something that you are commonly doing yourself very easily. Can't say that enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's true. Every time you do something you've never done before, there's always this like sensation. And it's almost like now that I've done so much work and I've let go of the past stuff that was triggering this over inundated response of, because when I used to do things, I was like phobic and having a panic attack and all these things. And so that was really counterproductive. And now when I'm going and taking inspired action, because I've cleared and I've done the work, you feel the sensation, though it's almost like this, one of my friends, she says this, Sherry, she's scared sighted. It's like, it's almost, it's like that feeling and you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's okay. I'm going to do it anyway.
I know.
And then and I notice the more that I've actually built the self-worth factor, that self-worth piece in myself, making mistakes aren't this huge thing because I don't shame myself the way that I used to. It was more like the fear, like I'm afraid to make a mistake, or I'm afraid to look stupid, or I'm afraid to do this and all the things, right? Because I was afraid of the humiliation. But now that I don't really care, I mean, of course, I don't want to, hurt people, and it's not enjoyable to make mistakes. And I know that those are like my soul growing moments, and that's where my ego's like, when I feel really good. I'm like, yes.
That's so awesome. Yeah,
that was helpful.
The comeback is easier, and loving yourself, coming back to self-love, the path to sustainable healing and sustainable success is the path of self-love, filling up your cup, getting what you need, and really being able to receive it and then radiating that outward, and it gets easier. The emotional charge diffuses faster. That's kind of, I have a coach who says, she's like, you just dust the poo off, like, and that's so funny and a really cute way to say it, because it like makes you laugh. And so you find different ways to move through things. Yeah. Everybody's a little different, so it will take different levels for everyone, or whatever. But that's a really fun one. Like, just dust the poo off. It's fine.
Dust it off, girlfriend. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. And like paradoxically, fear is just an illusion, and there's only love. And it's like whenever you get into that heart space of just having unconditional love for yourself and others, there is no fear.
Right. Yeah. It's only there if we give it attention, and also it's I like to thank fear sometimes, because it's such a compass, and so I know if I'm really scared of something, and not everything, right? If I'm walking like by some alleyway in New York City, like I'm not like that's different fear, right?
That's legitimate.
It's also your body doesn't recognize the difference. So whether you're stressing out about, you're waking up late for work, or, you didn't, whatever it is, like, someone cut you off, like your body does not know the difference between that stress response and the stress response of like a bear coming after you. So you really want to watch how that impacts your physical body, because it's all connected, all related. For years, I was told that my symptoms were not related, that stress had very little to do with my symptoms. For years, I was told this, and I kept being like, I don't know, every time I have this like stressful thing happen, I get these like crazy hives, or like my leg hurts, or like, and they're just like, you probably just have something else. Maybe go see this other specialist. Like I had 8 specialists.
Take a cream.
Exactly. Like, come on, guys. But yeah. So it's really powerful to just tap into how you can kind of really assess your agreements. So like from the moment you wake up, like a lot of people wake up in a stir and they have their task list that comes up. And so you have a choice. You can choose there. Am I going to agree to like this, what is playing in my mind? Or am I going to agree to pause, do some conscious breathing, drink a full glass of water, feel my feet, hang out with my puppy, or whatever it is, do your meditation. I mean, that's my go-to, but you know, you can choose in that moment, and you can choose in every single moment to make this moment the very best, because all that is real is right now. And when you focus on creating the most for right now in this present moment, and you do that in every moment, well, guess what? You create a series of fucking awesome moments, and then that becomes your life. So it's all about choosing in the present moment what you're going to align with, what you're going to agree with, and who you're going to receive information from, or you know, what schools you decide to attend. Like where you're choosing to receive is going to affect what you're putting out there. So asking for help when you need it, and also, you know, choosing what you're agreeing to. Like that is just something that I can't stress enough. I mean, there's a whole month in my program that we dedicate just to that from the start. So it's that important.
Tell me, I want to promote you as well, and I want to hear more about what you're doing and what you're up to. So tell us a little bit about your program and who is a good fit for that, and you know, everything that's magical about it.
Yeah, I know. It's like, it's so fun because I really have created the thing that, you know, after researching and talking to a lot of people about what they want, what they're missing, what they've been disappointed with in health and wellness in general, and what they're seeking. And what I've done is I've incorporated freaking everything that people want. And it's really cool because I have this arsenal, this incredible toolbox of resources and natural healing tools. I mean, they're all over my desk right now because a lot of them, like biotechnologies and books and, you know, just how you can move out of stuckness and limitation with your physical body, your emotional body, into freedom. That's what people are looking for. They're looking for freedom. They're looking to not have to take pills every single day, like prescription drugs. They're looking to not have symptoms every day, or to heal the ones that they've had for a really long time. If you have something that's chronic and ongoing, I can help you. And the thing that I've created is a 6-month, it's called Radiance Revolution, because it's completely revolutionizing the way you show up for yourself, the way you show up for your physical body, for your habits, for your relationships, with yourself, with others. I mean, it's a complete game changer. So who's signing up for this? People who are ready to go big with their life, with their health. I'm attracting a lot of health coaches who are still struggling with some sort of, or coaches in general, not necessarily that, you know, call themselves health, but that are struggling with some aspect of their health, which is completely impeding on their ability to receive new clients, on their ability to receive better outcomes in their health. So we go so deep, and it's an immersion. And at the end of this, you are going to know pretty much how to be the doctor of yourself 80% of the time with natural medicine. You're going to learn to remove fear from symptoms. And this is symptoms in business, symptoms in your consciousness, symptoms in your physical body. And those are the people who are kind of signing up. So it was created with this woman in mind who, and a lot of people fall into this category too, who are signing up. It's women, a high achieving woman who has a deep desire to heal something deep, whether that's physical, emotional, etc. She struggles with anxiety. She has sleep issues. She's just kind of off, you know, rattled in her body. And she really is ready to go big and realign. And so that's who this is for. And it's, you know, it's completely revolutionizing the way that people heal, and the possibilities of how that goes about, and the multidimensionality of it. Because if you have, let's say, a parasite in your body, we can identify that parasite. We can coax that parasite out of the environment. But I want to know, well, where do parasitic relationships show up in your awareness? Like, it's multidimensional. This is not just physical body stuff. I get so passionate and so excited about it because it's just so game changing, and it's everything that I needed when I was really sick. So.
Oh my gosh, girl. I love that you just said that. So quick story. And then well, how can they find you before I want to get into this quick story?
Yes. So you can friend me on Facebook. You can reach out to me. That's usually how people are reaching out, is like through Facebook message or Instagram. And yeah, I'm super approachable. Connection is my highest value. So even if you just want to talk about it, even if you just have a question about it, yeah, just reach out to me on social media, or you can email me. It's my first and last name, laurabautista.atx, like Austin, Texas, @gmail.com. So feel free.
All right. And then also text me like your stuff and I can put it in the comments as well.
Yeah. That sounds good.
And then how they can get a hold of you and everything. Yes. So I'm so glad that you talked about that, the parasitic, a parasite. Well, I have been having crazy ant attacks. And I'm like, why is this? Because, you know, I believe everything is, you know, a projection. So there's something there that's going on in my life, because we go to the springs every morning and we go swimming, and I've stepped on 2 ant hills, one time a fluke, 2 times a pattern, 3 times definitely a pattern.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the other day I got stung this morning, and then I was laying down for the meditation for the forest thing, and they were all over me. Again. So like I was asking my unconscious mind, like, what is it? And it said invasion. So it has to do with boundaries issue, of course.
Interesting. Yeah. A lot of skin issues too are boundary issues.
Yeah.
So we look at it multidimensionally. I'd also be curious to see like what the totem is. Like if you go into like shamanic stuff, you can probably look it up really easily. Like, just like because the thing is, like in shamanism, like animal totems, when they show up, so squirrels are big for me. So it's not only the animal, but it's also the behavior. So you want to see like, what is the animal that's showing up, or insect or whatever, and also what's the behavior. So I'd be interested to see how that reflects in.
Yeah, I'll look them up, because ants, think of they're always working together, and there's like a queen, and there's definitely a hierarchy dynamic there, and they're workers too. So I'm going to look it up.
Yeah. It's, you know, whenever someone says, like, I have clients say this a lot, and it's so fun when they say this. I'm like, they're like, I don't know, like, I kind of think this might be a thing, but like, it's probably nothing. And I'm like, I want to know more about that. Let's talk about that. Yeah.
And let's dive into it and how it applies to everything, because it can be a spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, all of them at the same time. God.
Well, it's also like so many breakthroughs happen when you reconnect to your intuition. You can align, like gut health. The way I teach gut health is, sure, we can do a stool test. We can do all of that cool stuff. And then, you know, the gut lining, the mucosal lining, definitely. But also I teach how to realign with your gut feeling and trust it. Because again, this is a multidimensional experience, and that's how this stuff sticks, at least in my opinion.
Absolutely. It's the organ language.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. So your thing, when does it launch?
So actually starts on Monday. So there's really not that much time left to enroll. So we have, it's about 5 days left to enroll. And I'm really excited at who this is calling in. And if this speaks to you, or if anything that I said really resonated and you just want to talk about it, you know, this program is not for everyone. I actually don't invite just anyone in. It's a very specially curated group. And it's kind of, I don't like to say it's application only, but there is a process just to make sure that we're the right fit for one another. So I would love to even just have that conversation. And I'm offering complimentary kind of discovery calls for this specific program. About 30 minutes, you know, we can make some time in the next couple of days and talk about it if this is something that you are really curious about.
And if you have that, do you have like the link, a Calendly link that I can put in the thing?
I don't have a Calendly link. I do have one, but I'm not using it for this. But you can absolutely reach out to me and we can schedule it really quickly. Because my calendar's all over the place right now. So I probably have to like make an adjustment, honestly, to like, and that's why I wouldn't give you the link. It's going to tell you I'm not available till like mid-October.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, girl. Thank you for diving with me. And I loved hearing your story, and I'm super excited for your new launch. This is pretty incredible. Yeah.
Very excited too. Very certain. Like I've never been more certain about anything in my life, you know, and that feels really good. And I want that for everyone.
I can hear it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I was looking if we had any comments. Also, if anybody wants to ask her any questions, is it okay if they comment and then you can reply to it as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, loves. Thank you so much for jumping on our expert entrepreneurs that are living their soul's purpose. And check out our next video. I believe we're doing another one on, I think it's next Tuesday. So we're going to be doing this weekly. And pop onto YouTube as well, because you can find all my videos on YouTube on our Yager training station or channel, where you can find all the videos in one place. So, and if you love this, share it with a friend, especially somebody that truly needs this, and Laura too. So
yay. Thank you so much, Deb. Thank you everyone for watching. This is such passion for both of us. And it's really a gift to be able to share this. So thank you.
love you, girl.
Love you. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like our content and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button below. We'll be posting videos every single week.
And if you want to learn more about NLP or a certification program or even performance coaching, come join us on our website at yagertraining.com, and you can find the link in the description below. We hope to see you on the next video. Thank you.